Cher, you're a virgin?
God, you say that it's a bad thing.
The PC term is hymenally challenged.
I am just not interested in doing it until I find the right person. You see how picky I am about my shoes, and they only go on my feet.
In 1995, a group of Bettys, Barneys, and Baldwins made the comedy Clueless the hippest teenage movie of the decade.
And this is totally from a woman's point of view, the poor guys.
I mean, the day after the movie opened, someone came up to me on the street and was like, whatever.
Whatever, Clueless unleashed an unknown Alicia Silverstone as Cher, the tragically hip, impeccably styled, eternally optimistic heroine.
I don't know if I could ever find a script as funny as this. I really think this is hysterical.
In the next hour, we'll take you on a trip way, way back in time to 1995 and inside the hip teen flick that destroyed the English language.
They're so busy saying whatever and like and as if and she goes and he goes. Where are you going?
We'll go on to the movie's set where teenage madness ruled.
And I was like, Daddy, it's my hair. It's not a wig.
We'll learn how Alicia Silverstone landed the role of a lifetime.
I said, I want the girl in the Aerosmith video.
And became the Hollywood girl du jour.
It put her in a place where she could make almost any movie she wanted in town. She was a young blonde girl.
What she wanted and what she got was a mega production deal and the aggravation that came with it.
The biggest thing I've learned about filmmaking, harsh lessons.
This is the behind-the-scenes story of a film that made high school, cell phones, nose jobs, and Alicia Silverstone way cool. This is the story of Clueless, the True Hollywood story.
Whatever.
The dream of being one of them. From life's ambition was to be discovered. The public scandal.
Back in the 1980s, Hollywood was in love with raunchy teensploitation comedies like Revenge of the Nerds and Valley Girl, movies about pimply-faced guys looking to score. But when the dot-com 90s dawned, the Barneys were tossed aside and the Bettys ruled.
Ugh, as if!
In 1995, a wide-eyed blonde named Alicia Silverstone popped onto the big screen in the film Clueless. Silverstone delighted audiences with her performance as Cher Horowitz, a daffy Beverly Hills teenager. E! Online columnist Anderson Jones.
Clueless is a movie that really celebrated girls and girlhood and girls coming into their own and figuring out what they wanted.
The movie was the brainchild of director Amy Heckerling. Heckerling wanted to make a hip comedy from the viewpoint of a teenage girl. The director's own high school was a far cry from the setting of Clueless. Heckerling grew up in the 1960s in a modest neighborhood in Bronx, New York. Her father was an accountant and her mother was a bookkeeper. But Amy didn't care for business.
I guess my parents both worked, and I just, grew up in front of a television watching old movies and drawing pictures. And the other thing I loved was Mad Magazine.
As a teenager, Heckerling decided she wanted to be a filmmaker, an ambitious choice for a woman in the 1970s. When she was 18, Heckerling entered New York University Film School.
Everybody was telling me, you're a woman, you can't make movies, there are no women directors, you'll never make it, it's a man's world, blah, 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 blah. For some reason, I had blinders.
Determined to find a way, Heckerling won admission to the prestigious Directors Program at the American Film Institute in Los Angeles in 1974.
Look, I'm a virgin.
At AFI, Heckerling made a short film that soon became her calling card in Hollywood. Getting It Over With was about a teenage girl racing to lose her virginity.
Don't you just think tonight would be lousy?
No, it's gotta be tonight.
Why?
Because it's the last night I have of being a teenager.
The 30-minute film proved that Amy had an ear for dialogue and a knack for knowing what made teenagers tick. Casting director and friend, Carrie Fraser.
I think one of the things she finds a great sense of delight in is the fumbling of men and women. And there's nothing that is a bigger fumble than when you're a teenager.
Getting It Over With gave Heckerling her big break. Producer Art Linson was so impressed that he hired Heckerling to direct his next project, a movie about a group of high school misfits called Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Chock full of sex, rock and roll, and mall rats, Fast Times became the ultimate 80s teen flick. The film also propelled Heckerling from freshman director to head of the class.
It was like strapping a rocket ship to her back. You know, it really made her a real commodity and player in Hollywood.
For her next two projects, Heckerling steered away from teenage comedies. In 1984, she made the movie Johnny Dangerously. In 1985, she directed National Lampoon's European Vacation. Neither film matched the director's earlier triumph. Heckerling learned an important lesson.
I don't like being a director for hire. I don't like getting scripts and reading them. I just don't like that whole thing. I'll stay home with my kid and I'll write. It'll happen or it won't happen. And then I did Look Who's Talking.
The hit 1989 comedy Look Who's Talking followed the story of a single woman, played by Kirstie Alley, who gets pregnant and falls in love after her baby is born. John Travolta plays the love interest.
You get to hear what this kid is saying, you know, and it's Bruce Willis's voice, and it has John Travolta and Kirstie Alley, who was a big TV star at the time.
In 1994, the filmmaker was eager to return to familiar territory, teenage comedies.
I thought, oh, I want to do something about a girl that's just completely sure of herself at all times, because that's like so opposite how I feel.
Heckerling came up with a television pilot with an outrageous plot. The show was initially entitled No Worries.
I wrote a pilot about a girl who, and this was during the grunge period, she really, really wanted to have a $2,000 Perry Ellis grunge outfit, and her trials and tribulations of getting one.
Twink Kaplan was Heckerling's production partner.
When she gave it to her agent, Ken Stovitz at CAA, he said, "This is so much better. This should be a movie."
I thought, well, I'd like to do something that's like a comedy of manners, something Merchant Ivory-ish, except in high school.
For inspiration, the director turned to classic literature, Jane Austen's 19th century novel, Emma. Heckerling gave an age-old story a whole new spin, and a new title, Clueless.
Clueless is a modern-day retelling of Emma, set in a very 90s high school, about this girl who can fix everyone's life but her own.
Executives at Fox Studios were skeptical.
They started to worry about movies that seemed to be about stupid characters. There was a couple of movies came out all at once. One was Airheads, one was PCU, and they weren't happy with the performance of these movies.
I think they were thinking, you know, that we've got all these like kind of silly comedies, and I don't think they really wanted to go with another one. They just didn't feel like taking a chance on it.
The screenplay started to collect dust, but that all changed after one of Hollywood's most influential producers, Scott Rudin, read the script. Rudin demonstrated the Midas touch, producing such hits as Sister Act, starring Whoopi Goldberg, and The Firm, starring Tom Cruise.
And Scott became interested. And when Scott Rudin became interested, everybody became interested.
You know, it just points out how stupid everything is, from like, no, high school movies don't make money, to like, yes, we all want this high school movie, even though we read it before and now we want it. It's like, whatever.
Rudin signed on as the project's executive producer. A bidding war immediately broke out between Paramount and Sony Studios over Clueless. Paramount won and bought the script. With a deal firmly in place, Amy Heckerling was ready to make her next teenage comedy. All she needed was her leading actress. In the spring of 1994, Paramount Studios gave director Amy Heckerling the green light to make her film Clueless, a hip comedy about a clique of in-kids at a Beverly Hills high school. With the cameras ready to roll, Heckerling didn't waste time choosing a star.
I said, I want the girl in the Aerosmith video.
The plot of Clueless revolved around the character Cher Horowitz, a charming, self-absorbed teenager who plots a series of matchmaking misadventures. To play the part, Heckerling needed a young actress who possessed the right mix of teenage moxie and naivete. The director spotted her star while watching MTV.
She was treadmilling, you know, one night, and she saw the Aerosmith video. And she discovered Alicia on that video, and that's the girl that she wanted.
Alicia Silverstone was perfect for the lead in Clueless. The young actress was a mature teenager, but still a teenager, and just as contradictory as her character, Cher Horowitz.
Cher is extremely unique. She's beautiful, she's fresh, she's alive, she's all these things, and she's self-centered, and she's but all for good. She's no evil in her, she's no bad intentions.
Alicia Silverstone was born on October 4th, 1976. Silverstone grew up in upscale Hillsborough, California, a suburb of San Francisco. Alicia's mother, Dee Dee, was a flight attendant, and her father, Monty, was a real estate investor. From an early age, the camera loved Alicia. Her parents encouraged the child to begin professional modeling.
And it was just so horrible. I did it from 8 to 12. And I didn't have to do anything but sit there and be pretty, and I didn't want to do that.
Even then, the young girl had bigger plans. At age 12, she began acting lessons. In 1992, Alicia got her big break. A Hollywood agent spotted the teenager in an actor's workshop. Within a year, Silverstone won her first movie role, playing the teen sexpot in the film The Crush. But before the ambitious 16-year-old accepted the part, she insisted on drastic measures.
She got separated from her parents, this legal term called emancipation, so that she could spend longer hours on the set.
At age 16, Alicia was legally declared an adult who could make decisions for herself.
For her, it was really just an opportunity to kind of move, be on her own, so that she could make, the movies that she always wanted to make, and work longer hours. It was something born out of ambition and not born out of any spite.
In the fall of 1992, Silverstone dropped out of high school and headed to Los Angeles to begin filming The Crush. The movie premiered in 1993 and quickly generated buzz. Alicia's performance in The Crush earned her a 1994 MTV Movie Award for Best Villain and Best Breakthrough Performance. Alicia was then tapped for a small but faithful part in the new Aerosmith music video, Crying.
Yeah, the video did great. It wasn't intentional, but it just happened that way.
Amy Heckerling was captivated by Silverstone's performance in the music video. When the two women finally met in the summer of 1993, the director discovered a kid who tried to appear wise beyond her years.
We had like a soda or whatever was in front of her with a straw. And instead of drinking like a person drinks, she'd drink like that. She's acting like she's the big actress who's done all these movies and stuff, and then she's drinking like a 5-year-old. And it was just so cute.
Heckerling knew instantly she found Cher Horowitz.
There was no auditioning, not for her. It was her. It was like, that's the girl I want. I meet her. Oh yes, that's her. That's Cher. Okay, here we go.
After Silverstone signed on, Heckerling set out to find the rest of her Beverly Hills kids. To play the role of Cher's best friend Dion, the director needed a confident actress with a flair for comedy. 28-year-old Stacey Dash from the Bronx filled the bill perfectly. Dash's resume included the TV sitcom The Cosby Show and the 1992 film Mo Money.
Dion is very self-absorbed, very dramatic, and very clothes-conscious.
Casting director Carrie Fraser knew 17-year-old Brittany Murphy was also perfect for the role of Ty, Cher's misfit friend.
I was seeing tons of young women, and Brittany came on in, and she was halfway through her audition, and I remember said, "You can stop now." And she looked at me with that fearful thing in her face that says, "Oh, thank you very much, we'll call you," kind of thing. And I said, "You're coming back to the director. Hold on to those sides. I'll see you in a day or two." And she kind of went, "Really?" Started kind of jumping up and down.
Murphy landed the role. Heckerling's next challenge was finding Cher's fashion foe, Amber. Elisa Donovan, a veteran of TV, sitcoms, and soap operas, knew she was right for the part.
I grew up in New York, on Long Island, and there is a little set which is very much the equivalent of these girls.
With the girls cast, Heckerling turned to the guys. First up was Dion's rapper wannabe boyfriend Murray. 20-year-old Donald Faison desperately wanted the role.
So, I read the script and everybody had cell phones, and, they said Murray was a Beverly Hills gangster. I think that's the way they described him. And I went in, I put a bandana on, and I got a fake cell phone and walked in the audition acting like I was talking on the cell phone.
The trick worked, and Faison got the gig. Rounding out the cast were a group of talented young actors. 25-year-old Paul Rudd played Cher's ex-stepbrother. 22-year-old Justin Walker was cast as Silverstone's misplaced object of affection, and Jeremy Sisto played the hunk. Brecken Meyer, a real Beverly Hills High School grad, landed the part of the school's skateboarding Lodi.
I played Travis Birkenstock, who's a apparently, it's never told, but I'm the throne to the Birkenstock sandal throne, which hence this explains me having money. But I'm a stoner.
The only roles left to cast were the film's pair of lovelorn teachers. Heckerling chose veteran actor Wallace Shawn for the part of Cher's debating instructor.
I once was a school teacher for at least a couple of years, so I brought what we call a sense memory to my understanding of the part.
The director didn't have to look far to fill the role of English teacher Ms. Geist.
This was when Amy and I were meeting with Scott Rudin in his office, and she was telling Scott she wanted me to be Miss Geist. And as I turned to look at him, we all started laughing because, you know, Miss Geist was a slob with her hair all, you know, up in her head with a pencil going through it, and it was a coincidence that day. I looked a mess.
With her cast in place, Amy Heckerling was ready to go back to school. Director Amy Heckerling was eager to start rolling on her smart comedy of manners about a bunch of Beverly Hills rich kids. For lead actress Alicia Silverstone, landing the role of Cher was the opportunity of a lifetime.
I don't know if I could ever find a script as funny as this. I really think this is hysterical.
In the fall of 1994, director Amy Heckerling was racing against the clock, trying to get everything ready for the first day of filming. Heckerling's biggest challenge was turning the urban Grant High School in Van Nuys, California, into the plush world of a Beverly Hills high school.
One of the unfortunate things is there had been a series of shootings, and Grant High School was not in a great place at the time.
Production designer Steve Jordan.
It was like preparing for war. All right, tonight we'll put a new floor in the hallway. Tomorrow night we'll change the lights. Following night we'll paint.
But slapping paint on sets wasn't nearly as difficult as getting young actresses fitted for their trendy teenage wardrobe. That task fell to costume designer Mona May.
We had weeks and weeks and hours of fitting with Alicia. I mean, imagine to get 56 outfits ready. You probably try on 160.
I was trying clothes on left and right. That's the part that made me miserable on set because I'm not into clothes. And I really had to pretend like I loved clothes. I love clothes. And Mona's like, here, try this on. I don't want to try it on. But it's like constant clothing, wardrobe.
The hairstyles posed more problems for the filmmakers, as well as some surprises.
The AD comes in and he's like, Elisa, you know, hair just wants to adjust your wig. Could you come out here? And I was like, Danny, it's my hair. It's not a wig. And he was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Like he was sort of like, oh my God, they really cut her hair, you know, like, but didn't want to make me feel bad.
After months of preparation, Amy Heckerling began shooting on November 1st, 1994. Actress Elisa Donovan remembers her first day on the set was like going back to school.
I am bolting to the valley. I get there like 20, 25 minutes late, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is horrible. This is so unacceptable. This is awful, you know? And who's the first person I see? Scott Rudin, executive producer of the movie. I'm like, oh, good morning, Scott. How are you? He's like, how's it going? And I've said, oh, great, you know? And I'm thinking, oh my God, he's so gonna fire me.
Elisa Donovan wasn't the only cast member with first-day jitters. The seemingly assured Alicia Silverstone wondered if she could become the ditzy Cher Horowitz.
I'm usually really like natural and quiet and in my work, and this is very loud and like and showy, which is so not in my character or in the roles I've played before.
On the first day of filming, Silverstone quickly put her stamp on the Cher role with an unusual new word. Actress Julie Brown played Cher's gym teacher.
Alicia's doing her book report, and she's talking about the Haitians. And it's supposed to be Haitians, of course.
And so, if the government could just get to the kitchen, rearrange some things, we could certainly party with the Haitians. And in conclusion,
Despite hearing the mistake, director Heckerling didn't blink an eye.
The script woman comes up to me and says, oh, we got to tell her. And I go, no. Nobody tell her anything. So then you got to make the whole crew not tell her that she made a mistake.
Hilarious. No, everyone was trying not to laugh. It's just so funny. But that's how she said it, because she didn't know because she's 17.
The film schedule was tight and kept everyone on their toes, including the movie's hairstylist, Nina Paskowitz.
In one day, we redid everyone about 15 times. And it was wild. It was, I mean, You're talking about hair ornaments flying.
Brittany Murphy provided a different challenge for the hairstylist and for makeup artist Alan Friedman.
If you gave her a moment, if the hairdresser wasn't ready for her immediately or the makeup person wasn't ready for her, suddenly she'd be playing in all the things. And I remember one instance of her deciding to, sort of start to work on her own hair, and she grabbed the hairdresser's curling iron.
I burnt myself a lot. I did. I had huge. I still have a scar here, and up on my forehead.
From a
curling iron.
Despite the hair problems, the young cast appeared to have as much fun on the set as off.
Jeremy Sisto, he was wearing a sweater and got caught in a car door while filming a scene, and he walked and took like 5 steps forward, and it pulled him back like a rubber band, like slingshot back into the car. The whole set went crazy.
But coping with exuberant young actors was never easy for the crew.
You would get to the set, and there'd be cream cheese or peanut butter or something else, over what you had taken all this time to redo, so we had to redo the redo.
And sometimes the confident star actually seemed clueless.
Speed was of the essence, time was of the essence, and we got Alicia all ready. She looked fabulous, and her dog took off and ran out of the area, and she went chasing after him, and we're like, wait, come back.
In the fall of 1994, director Amy Heckerling started shooting her teenage comedy Clueless. For the director and her young cast, making the film was like going to summer camp.
I can't wait to get here, and when I'm here, I'm having a good time. And that's what it's all about.
On the set, Heckerling encouraged her young actors to have fun and improvise. Alicia Silverstone and co-star Stacey Dash did just that when they invented their trademark handshake.
Stacey Dash and I were just sitting there, and we kind of just did it, and I kind of went like this, and it just worked. We go ch-ch, and then doop.
While Clueless included a number of last-minute gags, Amy Heckerling knew the success of her film depended upon details. To get the teen speak down, Heckerling went straight to the source.
I went to Beverly Hills High School and hung out there for a while, and I would, hang out with the drama department and call those kids and say, what would what are the new words for very, for good, for bad, for ugly, for sexy, for disgusting?
Actor Justin Walker played Cher's gay boyfriend, Christian.
All three of us had different dialogue. I had the, the late 50s Rat Pack throwback dialogue. He had the, the pseudo-intellectual, and she was in that, Beverly Hills lingo.
I am majorly, totally, but crazy in love with Josh.
Dan Hedaya, a former English teacher, was horrified by the language.
They're so busy saying whatever and like and as if and she goes and he goes. Where are you going? What kind of language is this? She goes and he goes.
In Clueless, they say things like, surfing the crimson wave. It may be slang, but it's really descriptive.
If the Clueless dialogue at times seemed over the top, Heckerling made sure the film's plot was grounded on real issues. One of the underlying themes was teenage sexuality.
One of the fun things about adolescence is you're a couple of ways from being, a big businessman, and a couple of years from, somebody that played with toys.
Silverstone's character Cher drove home that point.
Cher was a virgin, and here she is, this person that thinks she knows everything, that's telling everybody how to do things and matchmaking and giving relationship advice, but the reality is she's never done anything. She's a kid.
But sex wasn't the only adolescent mystery Clueless explored. Some of the film's most hilarious scenes involved teens learning the best-kept secrets of driving.
What do I do?
Go straight! Go straight! Go straight! Go. Just relax and drive, baby. Just relax and drive. Look out. I'm here with you. I'm here with you. Whatever you do, keep your hands off the wheel at all times.
As shooting neared a close, every frame and moment began to count. The film's 40-day shooting schedule made clear there was no room for error. Hairstylist Nina Paskowitz felt the pressure when it came time for Donald Faison's character to shave his head.
That was a big deal because we had to figure out how to film it and to know that he was going to be bald after that. So the first thing is they have to schedule it so that they're not filming anything else after that with hair. And at the last minute, I'm looking at him, you sure we got everything? You know, before we shave his head, you sure you have everything you need with his having hair? Because he's not going to have it in a few minutes.
Faison went bald without a hitch, but the film's other demands were more difficult. Heckerling's script called for Alicia Silverstone to be in almost every scene.
A lot of work for, you know, big project for one person to be in every single shot, you know. And to be outside all the time and to, you know, get up early every day and just like not have that much rest.
Cast and crew soon realized Silverstone was feeling the pressure.
She wasn't sleeping a lot during that movie. I know that. So I guess it was somehow really impacting her that it was this big part, because she's so young and she suddenly had this huge part.
The constant grind of Clueless awakened Silverstone to the rigors of movie making.
It's the biggest thing I've learned about filmmaking, because it's such a like, I mean, people who are my age and they're going to school, they may learn it, they'll learn it in 5, 10 years. I've learned it right away. From the film industry is a great way to learn that. Harsh lessons.
Alicia Silverstone was put to the test on Clueless, but her hard work paid off. In a matter of months, Silverstone became one of the hottest young actresses in Hollywood. Coming up, actress Elisa Donovan's secret.
There is what I joke about calling the model's diet, which is, you know, a Diet Coke and a cigarette.
During the winter of 1994, director Amy Heckerling and her cast of actors worked tirelessly to complete the landmark teen film Clueless. While the mood on the set seemed upbeat, the film's demanding work schedule began to weigh heavily on cast members.
It's a hit movie about girls, and that's just so rare.
In the winter of 1994, cast and crew worked long hours to finish the film. 24-year-old Elisa Donovan pushed herself to the edge. The actress skipped meals and existed on a meager diet of grapes and sushi. Makeup artist Alan Friedman suspected Elisa was in danger.
Elisa had a problem. There is what I joke about calling the model's diet, which is, you know, a Diet Coke and a cigarette.
In January of 1995, Donovan was clearly in trouble. She was dehydrated and on the brink of starvation. One night, the actress experienced heart palpitations. Donovan's roommate rushed her to a Los Angeles hospital.
Where she went to a hospital, it was incredible. I really like her, and you're going, oh God, that's like horrible.
Years later, Donovan revealed she suffered from an eating disorder. In 1994, the struggling actress concealed her illness, pulled herself together, and returned to work. The challenges of wrapping the film didn't end there. In early 1995, Los Angeles was hit by torrential rainstorms. The disastrous weather delayed shooting the movie's final scene, the wedding of 2 high school teachers.
That year, in January, I think it rained 28 or 30 days. We'd have it set up the night before, show up the next morning, the heavens would just be opened, pouring. It just never stopped.
Finally, when the skies cleared, cast and crew rushed to shoot the wedding scene.
I'm wearing like this big white tuxedo. I mean, a lot of what I remember is feeling so fat in this movie. That's like my biggest memory.
With filming completed, cast and crew said tearful goodbyes. Alicia Silverstone crossed her fingers and hoped for the best.
Clueless, I think, is hysterical, and I just want to do good roles, so I don't really know. It doesn't really matter if it's comedy or if it's drama, just good characters.
While Alicia looked for new projects, Amy Heckerling dove into the unglamorous part of movie making, piecing her film together. Heckerling began to sense she had a winner.
It just seemed like just light, happy, fluffy, pretty. I mean, I couldn't stop looking at it. Every character I'd look at, I'd love them. I loved all of them, and so I never thought that there would be a problem with that one.
The moment of truth arrived when the head of Paramount Studios, Sherry Lansing, screened Clueless for the first time.
She just laughed all through the movie. It was the most wonderful thing.
While executives at Paramount believed they had a hit, the studio was faced with the challenge of marketing a teenage comedy about girls. Heckerling was not thrilled with Paramount's solution, especially the poster for the movie.
I showed it to my brother. He goes, "It looks like some hookers with a last-minute cancellation."
To boost the film's teen appeal, Paramount arranged for Clueless to premiere at MTV's Malibu Beach House on July 7, 1995. Many of the young cast members showed up, including Silverstone. Although the premiere went off as planned, director Amy Heckerling would have preferred to launch her baby somewhere other than the beach.
First of all, the ocean is incredibly loud, and you can't hear anything. But, you know, it's like, this was a promo thing. In fact, I don't think they've shown any more movies on the beach since then.
In theaters across the country, Clueless became an instant hit, and so did the film's young star, Alicia Silverstone.
As soon as the credits started rolling, I looked at Alicia and I was like, you are gonna be a huge star.
The film exceeded all expectations. Clueless made nearly $3 million on opening night, a big number for a small comedy.
The studio was completely shocked. It was a hit movie about girls, and that's just so rare.
It's like, you know, no, high school's no good anymore, girls are not a market, and then one movie changes things, and then it's like, okay, high school is okay this week, and girls, you know, are a viable audience.
I mean, the day after the movie opened, someone came up to me on the street and was like, whatever, you know, and like said, and I went, oh my God.
Clueless developed a following with both teenage girls and guys.
You couldn't see it just once. And certainly every kid who I know who saw it who were actually teenagers, it was certainly a hit among that crowd. You know, really, it spawned fashion trends, it spawned vernacular trends, it launched careers.
Overnight, Clueless turned Alicia Silverstone into a Hollywood it girl. The blonde graced the cover of countless magazines.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Alicia Silverstone.
Inevitably, studio executives saw gold in Silverstone's future. The actress was about to cross a threshold by trading Barneys and Baldwins for megabucks.
It put her in a place where she could make almost any movie she wanted in town. Please, she was a young blonde girl, you know, and she had a hit movie on her, you know, under her belt.
In 1995, the film Clueless turned Alicia Silverstone into one of the most popular actresses in Hollywood. Her life turned into a fairy tale, but all fairy tales end sometime.
I wanted to kill the press. I was so mad at them. I was like, leave her alone.
In the summer of 1995, the comedy Clueless was raking in the money at the box office, and Alicia Silverstone was a hot property. The young star seemed to keep her feet on the ground.
Sure, it's nice that people can feel that way, and I'm very appreciative, but that's not what life's about. It's really, I wouldn't want any young people to like look for in their dreams for all this admiration, because it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't put you to sleep at night.
But there was no doubt in Hollywood about who was the next big thing.
She could pretty much walk into any studio she wanted to and make any kind of movie. And that's a very rare place for someone of her age.
Studio executives moved with lightning speed. Sony president Mark Catton offered Silverstone a deal few adults could refuse, much less a 19-year-old. E-Online columnist Ted Casablanca.
Silverstone's 3-picture deal for $10 million was a bombshell in Hollywood at the time. People were stunned that a woman who basically had only one very successful movie under her belt got that kind of classy deal.
Alicia's megabuck deal with Sony also provided that she would produce her own films, a heavy load for a young actress.
Oh, it's wonderful. Now I make all kinds of choices, and I'm very independent, and I love what I do.
All at once, the former teen queen was thrust into the role of Hollywood mogul.
It seems insane, doesn't it? It's like, because I had produced things, and it's so hard, and there's so much to it, and I think, you know, I could just barely find the hairspray at 19. So I was like, how is she going to do this?
In the spring of 1996, Silverstone flew to Toronto to begin the arduous task of starring in and producing her first movie, Excess Baggage. 19-year-old Silverstone had her hands full.
There were script disagreements, there were, you know, differences of opinions on how dark the movie was going to be, and I'm afraid that Alicia's producing skills got thrown into all the criticism.
I mean, on every single film, there are always bumps. It just has to be that way. You can't make a movie. And I wonder, supposing you did a movie that would be extraordinarily boring, but if everything went just like okay, on schedule, perfectly, first of all, how boring that would be.
Despite the problems, Alicia won praise from her co-star, Benicio del Toro.
To produce and act would be very hard, and she got it all together. Did it all, pretty much. And it's quite amazing.
After tackling her responsibilities as a producer, Alicia inked another gilt-edged deal. She signed a $1.5 million contract to play Batgirl opposite George Clooney in the 1997 movie Batman and Robin. But Batgirl wasn't Cher Horowitz of Clueless. In a heartbeat, the actress who was everyone's high school sweetheart became the subject of ugly headlines.
They were unmerciful in talking about her weight, and Batman and Robin honestly was a train wreck to begin with, but it didn't help when every other story about the movie was about how overweight Alicia Silverstone was and whether she was going to fit in her costume or not.
People wanted to retain that Clueless felt like little Barbie figure, and they couldn't cope with the more mature Alicia Silverstone.
As Alicia soldiered forward with Batman and Robin, ABC Television decided to capitalize on the phenomenal success of Clueless. In the fall of 1996, ABC launched the sitcom Clueless with many of the movie's best-loved cast members.
Am I nervous about following up the success of the movie? No. I just come and enjoy myself and do my job.
The movie was such a tremendous success that there is a certain amount of anticipation for the series.
Alicia Silverstone did not return to Clueless.
She had that multi-million-dollar deal at Sony, so we knew we'd have to replace her, and it was almost like replacing somebody that was irreplaceable.
Another wide-eyed blonde took over Alicia's role, 20-year-old Rachel Blanchard.
I'll go with it. Whatever happens, happens.
Finally, in the summer of 1997, Excess Baggage, Alicia's first movie as a producer, opened to poor reviews and meager box office. Silverstone had to shoulder the blame.
But I don't necessarily think that that's her fault. I think that a lot of it comes too soon. I think a 3-picture deal might have been a lot to throw on an 18-year-old.
The comic high school fairy tale Clueless catapulted Alicia Silverstone into the status of a Hollywood heavyweight. When the fairy dust cleared, Silverstone faced the grown-up burdens of movie making.
I just hope that Alicia Silverstone doesn't give up. I think a lesser soul would do that.
Following the 1995 comedy Clueless, Alicia Silverstone's career went from full boil to barely a simmer. In 1999, the 23-year-old shared the spotlight with Brendan Fraser in the romantic comedy Blast from the Past.
Background action.
The movie was a box office dud. In 2000, Silverstone was cast as the Princess of France in the musical adaptation of Shakespeare's Love's Labour's Lost.
She, unfortunately, is not a musician, a singer, or a dancer, and I don't think that helped at all. The public just didn't respond to it.
Director Amy Heckerling continues to forge ahead in Hollywood. In 1999, Heckerling wrote and directed Loser, a college-age comedy starring Jason Biggs and Mina Suvari. Heckerling is still proud of the Clueless legacy.
It seemed to have a bigger impact on what people would make, like suddenly they would take the female market more seriously. It was like okay to make a movie for teenage girls.
The gang from Beverly Hills High fared well. Jeremy Sisto graduated to HBO's dark comedy series 6 Feet Under. Elisa Donovan landed a co-starring spot on the WB series Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
The movie changed my career. I mean, it basically gave me a career.
Actor Donald Faison went on to the hit TV comedy Scrubs. Actor Paul Rudd works regularly on stage and screen. In 2001, Brittany Murphy's career picked up speed with back-to-back roles in 2 films. She joined Michael Douglas in Don't Say a Word and Drew Barrymore in Riding in Cars with Boys.
It's people like Brittany Murphy that may really have the lasting career. You know, it's certainly a career that outlasts Clueless, you know, by leaps and miles.
In 2002, Alicia Silverstone planned to jump from films to stage with the role of Elaine in the Broadway production of The Graduate. Afflicted by the burden of what many called too much too soon, Alicia Silverstone is now working hard to live up to the promise of her teen years.
I think it still remains to be seen if she's got what it takes to stay in there and hang in there and give us what she does so well, which is this spunkiness and this funkiness and beauty.
I feel successful, and I felt successful in every single thing I've done, every choice I've made, because I'm very aware of why I'm making my choices, and so I feel pretty good about it all.
As a 25-year-old, the bulk of Silverstone's career still lies ahead, but the actress will always be remembered as Cher, a moment frozen in time when the Barneys and the Bettys could savor the fun of calling themselves clueless.
See, I'm outie. Bye.